The gunshot echoed across the Montana Territory plains as Xavier lowered his rifle, watching the rattlesnake's body twitch in the tall grass near where his 5-year-old daughter had been playing moments before. The year was 1883, and after 3 years alone on this remote homestead with only little Emma for company, Liam had developed reflexes sharp as a cougar's when it came to protecting his child. "Papa," Emma called, her golden braids bouncing as she ran toward him from the porch where he'd ordered her to stay. "Did you get the snake?" "I did, darling," Liam said, ruffling her hair. "But what did I tell you about wandering into the tall grass? That's twice this week." Emma's lower lip quivered slightly. "I'm sorry, Papa. I thought I saw a butterfly." Liam sighed, unable to maintain his stern expression in the face of those enormous blue eyes, her mother's eyes. He knelt down, his worn leather chaps creaking. "Just be more careful, Em. I can't always be watching, especially with the cattle needing moving tomorrow." He lifted her onto his shoulders and walked back toward their modest cabin. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the property that had become both their sanctuary and their prison since Hannah's departure. The 20 acres sprawled around them, bordered by a rough fence and gate that kept the cattle in and unwanted visitors out. "When's dinner, Papa?" Emma asked, tugging at his hair. "Soon as I finish mending that fence in the north pasture," Liam replied, setting her down on the porch steps. "Think you can keep yourself occupied without finding more trouble?" Emma nodded solemnly, clutching the rag doll that was her constant companion. "Me and Dolly will just watch for butterflies from here." Liam smiled, though the expression didn't quite reach his eyes. 3 years of raising a daughter alone had taught him many things, but the constant worry never eased. He grabbed his tools from the barn and headed toward the broken section of fence, casting frequent glances back at the cabin. The wind carried the scent of approaching rain as Liam worked, hammering posts and stretching wire. His thoughts, as they often did in quiet moments, drifted to Hannah. She'd been 19 when they married, him 21 and full of dreams about their frontier life together. The reality had been harsher than either expected. The isolation, the brutal winters, and then the difficult birth of Emma had changed something in Hannah. When Emma was 2, Liam had returned from a cattle drive to find Hannah gone, a brief note explaining she couldn't bear another Montana winter and had taken the eastbound train. The betrayal had nearly broken him, but Emma needed him. So Liam had locked away his heart along with the front gate, determined that no one would hurt either of them again. As the distant rumble of thunder reached him, Liam gathered his tools. Squinting toward the horizon, he noticed a dust cloud too small for a cattle drive, too steady for wildlife. Riders, maybe 2. Liam's hand instinctively moved to the revolver at his hip as he strode back toward the cabin. "Emma," he called, relief washing over him when she appeared in the doorway. "Inside now. We've got company coming." "Is it Mr. Peterson?" she asked, referring to their nearest neighbor, a good 5 miles away. "Don't think so," Liam replied, ushering her inside. "Stay here while I see who it is." He grabbed his Winchester from above the door and stepped back onto the porch, watching as the riders approached his gate. A man and a woman, their horses moving at a steady trot despite what must have been a long journey. The woman's face was obscured by a wide-brimmed hat, but something about her posture stirred an uncomfortable feeling in Liam's chest. They stopped at the closed gate and the man raised his hand in greeting. "Hello, the house," he called, his voice carrying on the wind. Liam approached cautiously, rifle held ready but not aimed. "State your business," he called back, stopping 20 paces from the gate. "Name's Thomas Hayes," the man replied. "My companion and I are looking for shelter before this storm breaks. Saw your chimney smoke from the trail." Liam's jaw tightened. "There's a town 15 miles east. You'll find proper lodging there." The woman pushed her hat back then, and Liam felt the ground shift beneath his boots. Hannah. Her honey-brown hair was shorter now, framing a face that had gained maturity but lost none of its beauty. Those unmistakable blue eyes, Emma's eyes, looked back at him with a mixture of apprehension and determination. "Hello, Liam," she said softly, though her voice carried to him as clearly as if she'd been standing at his side. Liam's fingers tightened around his rifle. 3 years of anger, hurt, and loneliness crashed over him like a flash flood. "You've got some nerve showing up here," he growled. Hannah dismounted, approaching the gate with measured steps. "I know I don't deserve a welcome, but you're right, you don't." Liam cut her off, stepping forward to ensure she couldn't open the gate. "Whatever you came to say, I'm not interested in hearing it." Thomas Hayes shifted uncomfortably in his saddle. "Mr. Xavier, I understand your feelings, but the storm isn't your concern anymore," Liam interrupted, eyeing the darkening sky. "Like I said, town's 15 miles east." Hannah gripped the gate posts, her knuckles whitening. "Liam, please, I just want to see her." "You lost that right when you walked out on us," Liam said, his voice low and dangerous. He locked the gate, sliding the iron bolt into place with a decisive clank. "Emma doesn't need more confusion in her life." "Emma," a small voice called from behind him. Liam turned to see his daughter standing several yards away, having slipped out of the cabin despite his instructions. "Emma, go back inside," Liam ordered, his tone brooking no argument. But Emma wasn't looking at him. Her eyes were fixed on Hannah, wide with a mixture of curiosity and something else, something that made Liam's heart constrict painfully. "Who is that lady, Papa?" Emma asked, taking a tentative step forward. Before Liam could answer, Hannah called softly, "Emma, is that you, sweetheart?" Emma tilted her head, studying the stranger at the gate. Then, to Liam's horror, recognition dawned in her eyes. She had been too young to remember, he'd thought. Too young to recall the face in the single photograph he'd kept hidden in his dresser drawer. "Papa," Emma whispered, her eyes never leaving Hannah. "I know her face." Emma inside. "Now." Liam's voice cracked despite his effort to keep it steady. But Emma was already moving, not toward the cabin but toward the gate, her small boots kicking up dust as she ran. Liam reached for her, but she darted past him with the agility of youth. Before he could stop her, she had reached the gate and was fumbling with the lock he'd just secured. "Emma," Liam shouted, striding toward her. The bolt slid free under Emma's small fingers, and she pushed the gate open just enough to peer through at the woman standing on the other side. Time seemed to freeze as mother and daughter studied each other across the threshold Liam had so determinedly kept closed. "Mama came," Emma whispered, so softly that Liam barely caught the words. The simple phrase struck Liam like a physical blow. In the background, thunder rumbled closer and the first heavy raindrops began to fall. Emma pushed the gate wider and Hannah knelt down, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, sweetheart," Hannah said, her voice breaking. "Mama came back." Emma looked back at Liam, her expression a mixture of wonder and uncertainty, seeking permission or reassurance. Liam stood frozen, the rifle hanging uselessly at his side as the rain began to fall in earnest. Thomas Hayes cleared his throat. "Mr. Xavier, I'll be heading to town now that Mrs. Xavier has found her way. Thank you for your time." With a tip of his hat, he turned his horse and rode away, leaving the three of them alone in the gathering storm. Liam watched as Emma stepped through the gate, hesitantly at first, then rushing into Hannah's outstretched arms. Hannah gathered their daughter close, sobbing openly now as she stroked Emma's hair. The sight tore at something deep inside Liam, the wall he'd built around his heart developing its first significant crack. "You two better come inside," he said gruffly, turning toward the cabin without waiting to see if they followed. "Storm's coming fast." Inside the cabin, Liam built up the fire while Hannah helped Emma out of her wet clothes. The domestic scene was so familiar yet so wrong that it made his chest ache. He kept his back to them, focusing on the flames rather than the soft murmurs of mother and daughter becoming reacquainted. "Thank you," Hannah said finally, addressing his rigid back, "for letting us come in." Liam turned, his expression carefully neutral. "Did I have a choice?" Emma made her decision clear enough. Hannah winced at his tone. "She's grown so much. She's beautiful, Liam." "She is," he agreed, unable to deny the obvious. "No thanks to you." Emma looked between them, sensing the tension. "Papa, don't be mad," she said, her small hand finding Hannah's. "Mama's wet. She needs tea like when I'm cold." The innocent request diffused some of Liam's anger. "Fine. I'll make tea." He moved to the stove, grateful for the distraction. While the water heated, he studied Hannah surreptitiously. She was thinner than he remembered, with new lines around her eyes that spoke of hardship. Her clothes were good quality but well worn. Whatever life she'd found away from them hadn't been one of luxury. "Emma, why don't you show your doll to your mother while I finish this?" Liam suggested, needing a moment to collect himself. Emma eagerly pulled Hannah to the corner where her few toys were kept. Liam watched them go, his emotions a tangled mess of resentment, confusion, and something dangerously close to hope. When he brought the tea over, Emma was chattering excitedly about her life on the ranch, Hannah listening with rapt attention. The storm raged outside, rain lashing against the windows and thunder shaking the cabin's sturdy walls. "You'll have to stay the night," Liam said reluctantly, setting down the cups. "Can't send anyone out in this, even you." Hannah nodded, not meeting his eyes. "Thank you, I don't expect anything, Liam. I just needed to see her, to see you both." "Why now?" The question that had been burning inside him finally escaped. 3 years, Hannah. 3 years without a single word." Emma looked up at her father's harsh tone, and Hannah gently suggested she might want to play with her doll on her bed for a while. Once Emma was across the room, Hannah turned back to Liam. "I wasn't well, Liam," she said quietly. "After Emma was born, something broke inside me. I couldn't explain it then. I barely understood it myself. I felt trapped, terrified, like I couldn't breathe." "So you ran," Liam said flatly. "I did," Hannah admitted, her shoulders sagging. "I ran east to my cousin in Chicago. I thought I'd find whatever I was missing there. Instead, I found doctors who finally had a name for what I was experiencing. And what was that? They called it melancholia of motherhood. Apparently, it affects some women after childbirth." Hannah twisted her hands in her lap. "I spent a year in a sanatorium. After that, I worked to save enough money to come back, to explain, at least. I never expected forgiveness." Liam absorbed this information silently. Part of him wanted to dismiss her explanation as an excuse, but he remembered the vacant look in her eyes those final months, how she would stare out the window for hours or cry without provocation. "Why didn't you write?" he asked, his voice less harsh now. "I tried. I wrote dozens of letters." Hannah's eyes glistened with tears. "But I could never send them. What could I possibly say to explain abandoning my husband and baby? And then, the longer I waited, the harder it became." The storm outside was intensifying, matching the tumult in Liam's heart. Emma had fallen asleep on her bed, clutching her doll. Hannah's gaze drifted to her daughter, a look of such longing on her face that Liam had to look away. "I should check on the livestock," he muttered, rising abruptly. "The storm's spooking them, I expect." He grabbed his slicker and hat, needing escape more than the animals needed checking. The rain pelted him as he crossed to the barn, his mind racing. Hannah was back. The woman he'd loved so desperately, then hated so thoroughly for leaving them. The woman whose memory had kept him from looking twice at any other for 3 long years. In the barn, Liam leaned against a stall door, listening to the rhythmic sounds of the horses munching hay. The simplicity was comforting after the emotional chaos of the cabin. He wasn't sure how long he stayed there before he heard the barn door creak open. Hannah stood in the doorway, wrapped in an old blanket against the chill. "Emma's still sleeping," she said. "I thought, maybe we could talk without worrying about what she might hear." Liam straightened, crossing his arms. "What's left to say?" Hannah stepped fully into the barn, closing the door behind her. "I'm sorry, Liam, more sorry than words can express. What I did was unforgivable." "Then why ask for forgiveness?" he challenged. "I'm not." Hannah moved closer, her steps hesitant. "I'm asking for understanding, and I'm telling you that I've changed, that I got help, that I'm well now." "And what am I supposed to do with that information?" Liam asked, though some of the edge had left his voice. "Nothing. Everything I don't know." Hannah sighed, pushing a damp strand of hair from her face. "I just needed you to know that I didn't leave because I didn't love you. I left because I was sick and scared and couldn't see any other way." The honesty in her voice reached something inside Liam. "Emma asked about you." "Every night for a year." Hannah closed her eyes, pain etched across her features. "I deserve that. I deserve every bit of your anger and resentment." "What did you expect would happen when you came back?" Liam asked, genuinely curious now. "Did you think you could just walk back into our lives?" "No," Hannah said quickly. "I hoped to see Emma to explain to you what happened, and then I thought I might settle in town, be close enough that Emma could know her mother if you allowed it." The thought of Hannah living so near yet not with them created a strange hollow feeling in Liam's chest. "And is that what you want, to live in town?" Hannah hesitated. "What I want doesn't matter. I gave up the right to what I want when I left." "Just answer the question, Hannah." She met his gaze then, and the raw emotion in her eyes staggered him. "What I want is impossible. What I want is to come home, to you and Emma, to try to rebuild what I destroyed, but I know that's asking too much." Liam turned away, unable to bear the intensity of her gaze. Outside, the storm was beginning to subside, the thunder more distant now. Inside him, however, the tempest continued unabated. "You hurt us," he said finally, his back still to her. "You hurt me in ways I didn't know a person could be hurt." "I know," Hannah whispered, "but Emma needs her mother." Liam's voice was rough with emotion. "She deserves to have her mother if that mother is truly committed to staying." "I am," Hannah said fervently. "With everything I am, Liam, I swear to you I'm here to stay. Whether you let me back into your life or just Emma's, I'm not running again." Liam turned to face her. "I don't know if I can trust that. I don't know if I can trust you." "I understand," Hannah said, though her eyes reflected her pain. "Trust has to be earned. I'm willing to earn it day by day for as long as it takes." A silence fell between them, filled only with the sound of rain on the barn roof and the occasional shuffle of a horse in its stall. Liam studied Hannah's face, searching for any hint of deception, any sign that she might once again flee when things became difficult. Instead, he saw only determination and regret. "There's a spare room," he said finally. "You can stay there, for Emma's sake." Relief flooded Hannah's features. "Thank you, Liam. I promise you won't regret it." "I already regret it," he said honestly. "But Emma's face when she saw you." "I can't take that away from her again." Hannah nodded, accepting his terms. "I should get back to her, in case she wakes." As she turned to leave, Liam called after her. "Hannah." She paused, looking back. "We're not the same people we were 3 years ago. I'm not the same man." "I know," she said softly. "I'm counting on that. The man you were wouldn't have opened that gate for me, no matter what Emma said. She slipped out of the barn, leaving Liam to wonder if she was right. Had he changed more than he realized? Or was it simply that his love for Emma outweighed his own hurt pride and anger? The days that followed established a cautious routine. Hannah took over many of the household duties that Liam had managed alone for so long. She cooked meals that reminded him of their early marriage, mended clothes with a skill he'd never mastered, and spent hours with Emma, reading to her and teaching her small domestic skills. Liam maintained his distance, watching their interactions with a mixture of gratitude and apprehension. Emma bloomed under her mother's attention, asking endless questions about where Hannah had been and why she'd come back. Hannah answered with simplified truths, never making excuses for her absence, but explaining that she'd been unwell and had needed to get better before she could be a proper mother. 2 weeks after Hannah's return, Liam rode out early to check on a distant section of fence. When he returned in the late afternoon, he heard laughter coming from behind the cabin. Following the sound, he found Hannah and Emma kneeling in freshly turned earth, planting vegetable seeds. "Papa," Emma called, waving excitedly. "Mama's making a garden. We're going to have carrots and beans and tomatoes." Liam dismounted, tying his horse to a nearby post. "Is that so?" he asked, approaching them. Hannah looked up, shielding her eyes from the sun. Her face was smudged with dirt, her hair escaping its pins. "I hope you don't mind," she said. "I found some seeds in the storage pantry and I thought—" "No, it's fine," Liam said, surprised to find he meant it. "Hannah always did have a way with growing things," he added to Emma. "You remember?" Hannah asked softly. Liam met her gaze. "I remember everything." A charged silence fell between them, broken only when Emma tugged at Hannah's sleeve, asking about where to plant the next seed. Liam watched them for a moment longer before turning toward the barn to tend to his horse. That night, after Emma was asleep, Hannah found Liam on the porch, staring at the stars. She sat beside him on the rough-hewn bench, maintaining a careful distance. "Emma asked me today if I was staying forever," Hannah said quietly. Liam tensed. "What did you tell her?" "I told her that I wanted to stay forever, but that it wasn't just my decision." Hannah glanced at him. "Was that wrong?" Liam sighed, running a hand through his hair. "No, it was honest. She deserves honesty." "So do you," Hannah said. "And honestly, Liam, these past weeks have been. They've reminded me of everything I lost, everything I threw away." "Hannah, please let me finish." She took a deep breath. "I know you've only let me stay for Emma's sake. I know you may never forgive me, and I accept that. But I need you to know that I still love you. I never stopped." Even in my darkest moments, that was the one constant. Liam stared out at the darkened landscape, his jaw working. "It's not that simple." "Of course it isn't," Hannah agreed. "Nothing about this is simple, but I thought you should know where I stand." She rose to leave, but Liam caught her wrist. "Wait." Hannah turned, surprise evident in her expression. "I'm not saying I'm ready for whatever this is, but I've seen how you are with Emma, how patient and loving. I've seen your determination to make amends." "What are you saying, Liam?" "I'm saying I'm willing to try to see if there's something worth salvaging here." He released her wrist, his hand falling back to his side. "For all our sakes." Hope bloomed in Hannah's eyes. "That's all I ask, a chance." As spring turned to summer, the tentative truce between Liam and Hannah evolved into something resembling their former partnership. They worked side by side on the ranch, their movements falling into familiar patterns. The garden Hannah planted flourished under her care, providing fresh vegetables for their table. Emma thrived with both parents present, her laughter filling the cabin that had been too quiet for too long. Liam found himself watching Hannah when she wasn't aware the gentle way she braided Emma's hair, the concentration in her eyes as she kneaded bread dough, the peaceful expression on her face as she hung laundry in the sunshine. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the wall around his heart continued to crumble. One evening in late July, they sat on the porch after putting Emma to bed. The air was warm, heavy with the scent of wildflowers and grass. Hannah had been unusually quiet all day, and Liam sensed she had something on her mind. "What is it?" he asked finally. Hannah looked startled. "What do you mean? You've been thinking so hard I can practically hear the gears turning," Liam said, the corner of his mouth lifting slightly. "Out with it." Hannah smoothed her skirt, a nervous gesture he remembered well. "Mr. Peterson came by while you were checking the herd today. He mentioned the harvest dance in town next month, and I wondered if perhaps we might attend." Hannah rushed on before he could respond. "As a family, Emma's never been to a proper dance, and I thought it might be nice for her to see other children." Liam considered the request. The harvest dance was an annual tradition, one they had attended together in the early days of their marriage. Going now, as a family, would signal to the community that Hannah was back to stay, that they were trying to rebuild what had been broken. "I think Emma would enjoy that," he said finally. Relief and pleasure washed over Hannah's face. "Thank you. I wasn't sure if you'd want to be seen with me in public." "Why wouldn't I?" Liam asked, genuinely puzzled. "People will talk," Hannah said. "About why I left, why I came back. They'll judge us both." Liam shrugged. "Let them talk. We know the truth." Hannah reached across the space between them, hesitantly placing her hand over his. "And what is the truth, Liam? What are we to each other now?" Liam turned his hand, linking their fingers together for the first time since her return. "We're finding out," he said softly, "day by day." The night of the harvest dance arrived with perfect late summer weather. Emma could barely contain her excitement as Hannah dressed her in a new frock they had sewn together. Liam, wearing his best shirt and a recently dusted hat, waited for them by the wagon. When Hannah emerged from the cabin, Liam's breath caught in his throat. She wore a simple blue dress that matched her eyes, her hair arranged in a style that reminded him of their courtship days. For a moment time seemed to slip and they were young again, full of hopes and dreams untested by hardship. "You look beautiful, Mama," Emma exclaimed, dancing around Hannah. "Yes," Liam agreed, his voice rough. "She does." Hannah blushed under his gaze, pleasure and uncertainty mingling in her expression. "Thank you. You both look very handsome." The drive to town was filled with Emma's chatter and the occasional comment from Hannah or Liam. As they approached the town hall where the dance was being held, Liam felt Hannah tense beside him. "It'll be all right," he said quietly, so Emma wouldn't hear. "We're in this together now." Hannah's grateful smile warmed something inside him that had been cold for too long. The dance was everything Emma had hoped for: music, laughter, colorful decorations, and treats she rarely experienced on the ranch. She was quickly absorbed into a group of children her age, leaving Liam and Hannah standing somewhat awkwardly at the edge of the dance floor. Curious glances and whispered conversations followed them, but Liam found he cared less than he'd expected. When the band struck up a familiar waltz, he turned to Hannah. "Would you care to dance?" he asked formally, extending his hand. Surprise and delight flickered across her face. "I would love to." As Liam led Hannah onto the floor, the crowd parted slightly, watching the reunited couple with undisguised interest. But as they began to move together, the familiar rhythm of the dance bringing back muscle memories from happier times, the onlookers faded from Liam's awareness. There was only Hannah in his arms, her hand in his, her eyes reflecting the same tentative hope he felt growing within himself. "I've missed this," Hannah confessed as they turned. "Dancing with you. We were good at it," Liam agreed, guiding her through a turn. "We were good at a lot of things," Hannah said softly. "Before I ruined it all," Liam's steps faltered slightly. "Maybe it's time we stopped looking back," he said. "Maybe it's time we started looking forward instead." Hannah's eyes widened. "What are you saying, Liam?" He drew her slightly closer, his voice low enough that only she could hear. "I'm saying that I've watched you these past months. I've seen your dedication to Emma, to making amends, to rebuilding what was broken. I've seen the woman you've become. And—" Hannah whispered, her eyes never leaving his. "And I think I might be falling in love with her," Liam admitted. "With you, again, or still, I'm not sure which." Tears welled in Hannah's eyes, but her smile was radiant. "I don't deserve this chance." "Maybe not," Liam agreed, his own smile softening the words. "But you have it anyway. We both do." As the music swelled around them, Liam bent his head and brushed his lips against Hannah's, their first kiss since her return. It was brief, gentle, a promise rather than a passion. But it was enough to seal the understanding between them, the commitment to moving forward together. From the edge of the dance floor, Emma watched her parents with wide, delighted eyes. When they finally remembered her presence and beckoned her to join them, she ran into their waiting arms, her face alight with joy. "Are we a real family again?" she asked, looking from one parent to the other. Liam and Hannah exchanged a glance over their daughter's head, years of hurt and hope passing between them in that single look. "Yes, sweetheart," Hannah answered, her voice thick with emotion. "We're a real family again." "And we're going to stay that way," Liam added, his arm encircling them both. As summer turned to autumn and then to winter, the Xavier homestead transformed. The gate that Liam had once locked against Hannah stood permanently open now, a symbol of the new beginning they had embraced. The cabin that had seemed so empty for so long rang with laughter and conversation. Even the harshest Montana winter couldn't dampen the warmth that had returned to their home. On Christmas Eve, after Emma had finally fallen asleep, exhausted from the excitement of holiday preparations, Liam and Hannah sat before the fire. Hannah's head rested against Liam's shoulder, his arm wrapped securely around her. "I never thought we'd be here again," Hannah said, watching the flames dance. "I never dared hope for this much forgiveness." "It wasn't easy," Liam admitted, his fingers idly stroking her arm. "But some things are worth fighting for, worth rebuilding." Hannah tilted her face up to his. "I love you, Liam Xavier. I always have, even when I was too broken to show it." "And I love you," Liam replied, the words coming easier now than they had in the beginning. "The woman you were, the woman you are, and the woman you're becoming." As the fire crackled and snow fell gently outside, they sealed their renewed vows with a kiss that spoke of forgiveness granted and received, of love lost and found again, and of the future they would build together one day at a time. And in the morning, when Emma burst into their room with all the excitement a child could muster on Christmas Day, they welcomed her into their embrace, no longer a broken family held together by duty and memory, but a whole one, strengthened by the very trials that had once threatened to destroy them. The little girl who had once opened a gate, whispering, "Mama came," had unknowingly opened something far more significant, the path to healing, forgiveness, and love renewed.